One morning, a young reporter from New York came to Gatsby's house and asked if he wanted to say something, any kind of statement. The man had heard Gatsby's name but wasn't clear how. It was his day off, and he wanted to know more. Gatsby's fame had grown all summer because of the many visitors to his parties and strange stories about him. People said he had a secret tunnel to Canada, or lived in a boat that looked like a house and moved along the coast. James Gatz was his real name. He changed it at 17 when he saw Dan Cody's yacht on Lake Superior. That day, James was walking on the beach in old clothes. But Jay Gatsby, the new name he chose, borrowed a small boat and warned Cody about the wind. Gatsby believed he was like a son of God with a holy purpose, to serve a loud and false kind of beauty. He stayed loyal to this dream. For more than a year, he worked by Lake Superior, digging clams and fishing. He met women early, but looked down on them because they were too emotional, and he was focused on himself. His heart was full of wild dreams. At night, moonlight touched his messy clothes. These dreams made him believe the real world was magical. A few months earlier, he tried a Lutheran college, St. Olaf in Minnesota, but left after 2 weeks. He hated the janitor job he had to do and how the school ignored his big dreams. Then Dan Cody's yacht came close to shore. Cody was 50, rich from silver, gold, and copper mines, but mentally weak. Women tried to take his money. A journalist named Ella Kaya used his weakness to sail away with him. This was gossip in low-quality papers in 1902. To young Gatz, lying in his boat and looking at the yacht, it was the most magical thing he had seen. Cody asked questions, learned Gatz was smart and that he had big dreams. Cody bought him clothes and took him on his yacht, the Tuolumne, to the West Indies and Barbary Coast. Gatsby worked as steward, captain, assistant, and guard for 5 years while the yacht circled the continent 3 times. Then Ella Kaye came aboard in Boston, and a week later, Cody died. I remember the painting of Cody in Gatsby's room, red-faced, hard, and empty. Cody was a wild man from the old frontier. Gatsby almost never drank, probably because of Cody. Women at parties poured champagne on Gatsby's hair, but he didn't drink it. Cody left Gatsby $25,000, but Gatsby never got it. He didn't understand the legal trick that gave the money to Elakaya instead. But Gatsby gained something better, a personal education, and the image of Jay Gatsby became real. He told me all this later, but I write it now to stop the crazy false stories about him. He told me when I was confused about what to believe. This is also a pause in my connection to him. I didn't see or hear from him for weeks, mostly staying in New York with Jordan and her aunt. One Sunday, I visited Gatsby's house, and soon Tom Buchanan came for a drink. I was surprised. It should have happened earlier. Tom arrived on horseback with Mr. Sloan and a pretty woman in brown riding clothes who had been to Gatsby's before. Gatsby was happy to see them and invited them to sit, offering cigars and cigarettes. He walked around, ringing bells to get drinks. Gatsby was deeply affected by Tom's visit, but uneasy, knowing they came only to take something. Mr. Sloan didn't want anything. No lemonade, no champagne, nothing at all. Gatsby turned to Tom, who had accepted the introduction as a stranger. I believe we've met somewhere before. Mr. Buchanan, 82. Oh, yes, said Tom, gruffly polite, but obviously not remembering. So we did. I remember very well. About 2 weeks ago. That's right. You were with Nick here. I know your wife, continued Gatsby almost aggressively. That's so, Tom turned to me. You live near here, Nick, next door. That's so. Mr. Sloan didn't enter into the conversation, but lounged back haughtily in his chair. The woman said nothing, either, until unexpectedly, after 2 highballs, she became cordial. We'll all come over to your next party, Mr. Gatsby, she suggested. Sloane, without gratitude. He had control of himself now, and he wanted to see more of Tom. Why don't you stay for supper? I wouldn't be surprised if some other people dropped in from New York, said the lady enthusiastically. Both of you. This included me. Sloane got to his feet. Come along, he said, but to her only. I mean it, she insisted. I'd love to have you. Lots of room. 83. Gatsby looked at me questioningly. He wanted to go, and he didn't see that Mr. Sloane had determined he shouldn't. I'm afraid I won't be able to, I said. Well, you come, she urged, concentrating on Gatsby. Mr. Sloane murmured something close to her ear. We won't be late if we start now, she insisted aloud. I haven't got a horse, said Gatsby. I used to ride in the army, but I've never bought a horse. I'll have to follow you in my car. Excuse me for just a minute. The rest of us walked out on the porch, where Sloane and the lady began an impassioned conversation aside. My God, I believe the man's coming, said Tom. Doesn't he know she doesn't want him? She says she does want him. She has a big dinner party, and he won't know a soul there. He frowned. I wonder where, in the devil, he met Daisy. By God, I may be old-fashioned in my ideas, but women run around too much these days to suit me. They meet all kinds of crazy fish. Suddenly, Mr. Sloane and the lady walked down the steps and mounted their horses. Come on, said Mr. Sloane to Tom. We're late. And the others gave a cold nod before riding quickly down the driveway, disappearing behind the summer trees just as Gatsby came out holding his hat and a light coat. Tom seemed upset that Daisy had been spending time out alone, so the next Saturday he brought her to Gatsby's party. His presence made the evening heavy and uncomfortable. The same people, flowing champagne, and loud energy were there, but something felt wrong. Maybe I was used to West Egg's rules and famous people, but seeing it through Daisy's eyes made me sad. It's always a little sad to see familiar things from someone else's view. Tom and Daisy arrived at sunset. As we walked through the crowd, Daisy whispered playfully, "These things make me so excited," she joked. "If you want to kiss me tonight, Nick, look around," he said. "I'm looking," she replied. "I'm having a wonderful time," Gatsby said. "You must see the faces of people you've heard about." Tom looked around proudly. "We don't go out much," he said. "Actually, I don't know a single person here." Gatsby pointed to a beautiful woman under a white tree. She looked like a rare orchid, hardly like a real person. "Maybe you know that lady," he said. Tom and Daisy stared at her like someone recognizing a movie star. "She's lovely," Daisy said. Gatsby added, "Buchanan and Mr. Buchanan, the polo player." Tom quickly said, "Oh no, not me." But Gatsby liked the title and kept using it. Daisy looked amazed. "I've never met so many famous people," she said. "I liked that man with the blue nose. Gatsby said he was a small-time producer." "Well, I liked him anyway," Daisy replied. Tom said he preferred to watch the crowd and not be called a polo player. Daisy and Gatsby danced, and I was surprised by Gatsby's calm and elegant dancing. Later, they sat on my steps for half an hour while I stayed in the garden at Daisy's request in case of fire, flood, or an act of God. Tom returned and asked if he could eat with another nearby group. Daisy said kindly, "Go ahead, and if you want to take any numbers, here's my little gold pencil." Then she told me the girl Tom was with was common but pretty, and I realized Daisy enjoyed only the time alone with Gatsby. Our table was very tipsy, partly my fault. Gatsby had gone to take a phone call, and I had enjoyed this group 2 weeks earlier, but now their jokes and noise felt unpleasant. Someone asked Miss Baedeker how she felt. She tried to lean on me with sleepy eyes. A large, slow woman defended Daisy, saying Miss Baedeker always screamed like that after 5 or 6 cocktails and should stop drinking. I do stop, Miss Baedeker said weakly. Someone else said when she screamed, they asked Dr. Sivert for help. She's thankful, I'm sure, said another cold woman. But you got her dress wet when you stuck her head in the pool. I hate having my head stuck in a pool, Miss Baedeker mumbled. They almost drowned me once in New Jersey, Dr. Sivert replied. Then you should stop drinking. Speak for yourself, Miss Baedeker yelled. Your hand shakes. I wouldn't let you operate on me. That's how the evening ended. One of the last things I remember was standing with Daisy and watching the movie director and actress. They sat under the white plum tree, faces very close, separated only by a thin moonlight beam. The director leaned slowly toward her all night, and I watched him bend slightly more to kiss her cheek. I like her, Daisy said. I think she's lovely. But the rest of the night upset her, not by actions, but by feelings. She was disturbed by West Egg itself, a strange place like something Broadway made in an old fishing village. She didn't like its wild energy or how it pretended to be grand, but lacked depth. It felt fake to her. She was confused by the plainness, which scared her because she couldn't understand it. I sat on the front steps with Daisy and Tom while they waited for their car. The night was dark except for bright light from the open door, lighting a small area. Sometimes shadows moved behind a dressing room curtain upstairs. One disappeared and another appeared as people got ready, putting on makeup in a mirror we couldn't see. Who is this Gatsby anyhow? Demanded Tom suddenly. Some big bootlegger? Where'd you hear that? I inquired. I didn't hear it. I imagined it. A lot of these newly rich people are just big bootleggers, you know. Not Gatsby, I said shortly. He was silent for a moment. The pebbles of the drive crunched under his feet. Well, he certainly must have strained himself to get this menagerie together. At least they're more interesting than the people we know, she said with an effort. You didn't look so interested. Well, I was. Tom laughed and turned to me. Did you notice Daisy's face when that girl asked her to put her under a cold shower? Daisy began to sing softly along with the music, her voice low and full of feeling. Each word seemed to have a special meaning, as if it would never sound that way again. When the melody rose, her voice followed sweetly, just like singers with deep voices often do, adding a warm charm to the air. Suddenly, she said, a lot of people come to these parties without being invited. That girl wasn't invited. They just show up, and Gatsby is too polite to say anything. I want to know who Gatsby really is and what he does, said Tom seriously. So why he owns some drugstores. He built them himself. Just then, their slow-moving limousine arrived. Good night, Nick, Daisy said. She looked away from me and toward the top of the stairs, where a sad little waltz called 3 o'clock in the morning was playing through the open door. Gatsby's parties, although casual, still held some kind of romance that didn't exist in her world. What was in that music that made her want to go back in? What could still happen that night? Maybe someone amazing would appear. A perfect guest, someone full of beauty and light, who, with just one magical look at Gatsby, could erase the 5 years he had waited for Daisy. I stayed late that night. Gatsby asked me to wait until he was free, so I sat in the garden while the usual swimming party returned from the dark beach, happy but cold. The lights in the guest rooms above went out one by one. Finally, Gatsby came down the steps. His tanned face looked tight, and his eyes were shiny and tired. She didn't like it, he said immediately. Of course she did. She didn't like it, he insisted. She didn't have a good time. He was silent, and I guessed at his unutterable depression. I feel far away from her, he said. Dances he had given with a snap of his fingers. Old sport. One of them was that, after she was free, they were to go back to Louisville and be married from her house, just as if it were 5 years ago. And she doesn't understand, he said. She used to be able to understand. We'd sit for hours. He broke off and began to walk up and down a desolate path of fruit rinds and discarded favors and crushed flowers. I wouldn't ask too much of her, I ventured. You can't repeat the past. Can't repeat the past, he cried incredulously. Why, of course you can. He looked around him wildly, as if the past were lurking here in the shadow of his house, just out of reach of his hand. I'm going to fix everything just the way it was before, he said, nodding determinedly. She'll see. Gatsby talked a lot about the past. I understood that he wanted to get back something, maybe an idea of who he was before he loved Daisy. Since then, his life had been confusing and messy, but if he could go back to a certain time and think about it slowly, he believed he could understand what he lost. One autumn night, 5 years before, they were walking together. The leaves were falling, and they reached a place with no trees, where the sidewalk was bright with moonlight. They stopped and looked at each other. It was a cool night, with the special excitement that comes during the change of seasons. The quiet lights from the houses glowed in the dark, and the stars moved softly in the sky. Gatsby saw that the sidewalk blocks looked like a ladder leading to a secret place above the trees. He could climb there alone, and once there, enjoy the pure joy of life and wonder. His heart beat faster as Daisy's white face came closer. He knew that when he kissed her, joining his deepest dreams with her fragile breath, his mind would never be free and wild again like the mind of God. So he waited a moment longer, listening to a silent sound from a star, and then he kissed her. At that moment she seemed to bloom like a flower, and their love was complete. Even in his sentimental way of talking, I remembered something, a soft rhythm, some lost words I had heard long ago. For a moment, a phrase almost came out of my mouth, and my lips moved as if I wanted to speak but could not. No sound came out, and what I almost remembered was lost forever.